I'll start off with some of the basics. All my animals have names. None of them are harmed during the trapping, or skills anyway. So this is Poach the pheasant. Yeah, it has to be named properly. So basic old poacher's traps for pheasants. I've got roughly two that one of them I'll explain, one of them I'll show you. So there's called a pheasant line, or a poacher's line. And what you have, this is a line of raisins attached to a post. The pheasant comes along, finds a raisin, eats it. As it eats it, it goes in, pulls the next string up, it finds another raisin, eats it. Eat all these raisins, and it gets to the post, can't move anywhere, so it just gets stuck to the post or to the tree where it's been tied. And it's an old poacher's trick that they used to use. It's in Danny, Champion of the World, the book, as knowledge. And that is one of the ones that they do. Now another way you can do it is a cone trap. And if you were to get a cone of paper and literally make up a nice cone, tape it together, cut it out, so you've got a funnel. You put some bird seed in there, making sure that the bottom can't be seen through so there's no light or anything else. Put a bit of Vaseline, a bit of bird seed in there, and put it in the ground like that. Pheasant, quail, one of the other small ground birds, comes along, eats the seed, puts his head in there, and he then pulls it out the ground. It's now dark for him because he's got a cone on his head. So it being dark, the pheasants, the quails and partridges, they sit down and they just stay there. So in the morning or in the afternoon, evening, you can walk along and you can pick up your pheasant, dispatch it cleanly, and then you have your food. So just two for a pheasant on the way through. We'll do snares next. Point to note, in the UK, a free running snare, i.e. one that does not lock, is legal. Okay, we are not allowed to use locking snares. And by a locking snare, I mean one of these survival snares. The locking snare itself goes on. When you pull it, it stays tight and it stays locked in. Obviously in a survival situation that would stop anything escaping, but in the UK we are not allowed to use these.
Is that to give you a fighting chance?
Yeah, they can breathe, they can escape, etc. So another way we actually teach survival snaring or trapping as well is to do a snare stick. And what this is, I've cut just around a little groove on the stick. I then wrap the wire around it and then tie it, twist it on itself, so I end up with 10 on a stick. Now to get these snares off, I snap the stick and take the snare off. The nice thing about that is I know I've got 10. So if I take that out and I actually come back, I've only got 3 on there. I've already got 7 that I've put out. I know how many I've got. It keeps count of it, you know what's happening. Okay, these ones, when you tied like this, do become a locking snare, so unfortunately they are not able to be used. But it is good practice to practice it, just as a bit to actually go and try different things. So I've got a West Country twitch up snare here, as it's been taught to me. It comes by various names, twitch up snare, spring snare, pole snare, whatever. They are all the same name, same version and everything else. So you get a young sapling, you tie it down, you put a peg in the ground with a notch cut out of it. You have a peg here with a notch for the string, a notch for the wire, and a notch cut out. The notch cut out does just go onto the side like that. Yeah. Okay. You can use certain bits of mushroom. And then what we do as well, instead of like is size of the animal's head. This is a trap, a professional stunt bunny. Yeah. Size of his head, roughly the size of the hole. He pushes through. So when he actually goes through, he pulls the he gets pulled up. That's simple. Okay. The twitch up does bring him up, not a problem. Now, as you can see with this one, I've had a carve, a cut into this one, and a cut into this one. Well, Mother Nature provides quite easily. There's a fork from a tree. I've now got a point to hang on to it and a point to tie a string to. Obviously the wire on the side. The same with the shape like that. So all I've got here now, this is then put up, goes underneath. I've now got the same style switch up on this one as I had just a second ago with the peg, without any carving or anything else, very minimal knife work in any way, shape or form. So it's quite a nice easy one. Go on to a leg snare or a leg hold. This one, I've got just a peg here.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got two fork sticks here. This comes down.
Good old Sheffield pile.
The top of the stick goes under the first one. Move the snare out the way. The second stick goes underneath and holds the bottom of this stick. So when this one is held there, that's now under tension, it's held there. I take several of the sticks, place them across a walkway or a path, and then I would actually take the snare.
We've done half the hard work for you. We took off bits that aren't spoon away from the tree. So all you have to do is find spoon in that bit.
And place it over the sticks. Obviously when a big dumb animal like myself comes walking through, doesn't see it, or another animal, they step on it, their leg is now caught, stops them running away. It is a hold snare, it is a leg hold snare. It's now going to be pulling away, but it's already been caught by its leg. That easy to actually trap it. We'll go from there.
And when you do your wrap,
so that one's quite a nice easy one to demonstrate, with a very simple trigger being the mechanism. Now speaking of mechanisms, we go to a pirouette trap. Now this one is a dead fall trap. I have a safety under here which I'm about to move, because earlier on someone's Jack Russell came underneath and put it in, and the last thing I wanted this morning was to deal with somebody's pet Jack Russell that had gone under the trap by accident and possibly become demised. So I'll take the safety out. Okay, so the pirouette dead fall is actually a dead fall held in position by a small string and a toggle. And the toggle is actually held in position by a stick going underneath the dead fall. You can put bait on that stick, you can run a longer line underneath to make it go across the walkway or anything else. But generally what happens is the animal comes in, goes underneath, hits the stick, and the deadfall comes down on them and dispatches them. As you can see, they are quite effective. I know the weight of these. I set them up on some Victorian standpipe. It's about that thick terracotta, and it obliterated it and shattered it. So I know that these do make a almighty thump as they come down. But it's okay. He's a stunt bunny. He's fine, aren't you? See, he's all good. So, we'll use squish on this one. We've got squish the squirrel. We've got trap the rabbit, catch the chicken, poach the pheasant and tickle the trout, but they're all good. So I'll just take the safety out of this one. So again, same reason. You'd have the bait on the stick here. He comes in, and it does exactly the same as it does for the pirouette. The deadfall comes down, and I'm afraid that's it. You end up with dinner. The figure 4 is so called because when it's positioned and put up, it makes a figure 4. Simple as. But you can also make a flat figure 4. As you can see, it's just 3 flat pieces of wood. So when placed together, positioned up, obviously there's no weight on this to hold it in position. It goes like that, where I've got a bait stick just behind my hand here. That then knocks down, and that would then hold the weight to actually drop it down. Very small, very flat, easy to put in a kit. So with those ones, are quite easy with those. So we go on to fish. Because fish traps are one that we will use possibly. The arrows denote the way the stream's going. I haven't managed to put all the sticks in position for all of the lines, so I've had to use some stickers at the moment. So I've got Tickle the Trout. He's a nice little fella. Had to be done because they had to all have names. Sorry. So, anyway, when he starts swimming up, river, like this, he comes up, he finds the edge, he can't go past it because it's a line of sticks. He swims in, he gets to the sticks at the top and he moves round. Fish are notoriously stupid, so he'll just keep going round in circles, swimming all the way. And they end up in the two side parts of the actual trap, allowing you to actually pick them up and catch them. Littlest, tiniest net from the pound shop, but the kids seem to love this one for catching small, tiny fish in the rivers, and they'll scoop them up. Obviously, a net is quite a simple one that most people have seen and used. A net can be simply made from paracord. This is just done by kind of a prusik knot on the top, spread out, an overhand knot put down. I haven't finished this one, I've still got a work in progress, I've still got to tie it up. But to give you some idea, this was one that I purchased just because it was easier. So I've got floats on one end, on the top, weights on the bottom, and as you can see by the fineness of that one, it can go across. It's only a couple of, what, foot and a half, maybe 2 feet in depth, but if you've got that spread across the river, floating there, you stand a chance of catching dinner, catching some food. So it gives you a chance, again, for food. Now, another way you can catch food with fish is by fishing hooks. Okay, so you can use all sorts of fishing hooks, thorns, everything else. That one was a
Where are you going to live when you're older, Ree?
can lid.
Oh no.
Can ring pull for that one. Simple as. This is a piece of bone that I've started carving. I haven't finished it yet, but it is starting to look like more of a hook than normal. And the most simplest and easiest way to do hooks is gorge hooks. These are the most primitive ones to go in. And all they are is a sharpened piece of bone or antler like that, groove around the middle so you can tie a line on. Thin line would be ideal. Horse's mane, horse's tail, you can plait up a lovely thin fishing line from that. Put it in sideways with the bait on it, the fish goes down, it turns sideways and gets stuck in the gullet, and that's how you actually pull the fish out. Now, if you recall the twitch up snare earlier, which was the one that had the spring on this side with a hook, with a peg. If you've got one of these like this, and this one by a river, you could always attach that to a fishing line into the river. Providing that hook or that clip is on towards the river, if a fish was to pull that out, it now pulls up and possibly pulls the fish towards outside of the water. If it's a strong fish and it's starting to pull back, well, you're still working and tiring that fish out because it's now working the rod. So whatever happens, you stand more of a chance to catch a fish on an automatic system. Now, saying on automatic systems, this one's a commercial one, it's called a yo-yo fishing reel. So obviously this does the same sort of thing where once it's locked in, fish pulls on the string, set right now, pulls on it, and it now acts like a reel to be able to pull it in. Not allowed to be used in the UK. I know you can use it in several other countries because they leave them stuck on the sides and everything else, but a useful piece of information and a useful piece to actually practice with, and they are a good bit of fun. Another point of power, because obviously we're using saplings here, power going up. If you haven't got saplings, shock cord. Shock cord, yoga bands, nice straight long lengths of yoga bands can actually allow elasticity to actually make it stretch, or even a big spring. You can actually stretch it out and use that as a power supply. So there is more than one way of able to put an engine on a snare. You're not allowed to use engines on snares when you're actually trapping in the UK, just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm in it.
And the last one I'm going to go over is a version of trapment for when you are hitting a running animal. Okay, and this one's oversized completely for demonstration purposes and to let people see. I'm sorry, Tickle. You still okay? Stay over there. Yes, there we go. So, with the bowler, these are an ancient tool used by gauchos and everything else for catching cattle. This one's actually got 3 tennis balls in the bottom. So when thrown, it spins. One, you'll notice, is slightly longer than the rest. This actually fires out a bit more, changes the direction of spin, and when it's actually spinning through the air, you will end up with this flying through. Obviously goes round something one way, round the other way. It catches up, tangles up, and the animal falls down in any way, shape or form. So with these, they are good fun when you actually got them this size to actually practice against a tree and watching people actually end up getting around the back of their head because they think they know how to do it. Sorry, shouldn't say things like that, but it is quite comical. But you can make these a lot smaller. You can make these into little tiny ones with ball bearings in there and a lot thinner, stronger line like Kevlar or something like that. So you can end up with something that's quite small and quite easy to throw, but obviously got quite a lot of strength and everything else with it. But running animal or bits and pieces, yeah, you're more than welcome to try, but it's not the easiest of things to throw. I can even say that I can't always hit a tree with one of these, but it's fun. And as I made it oversized, it makes it even more harder to throw. But that being said, oh, last one we haven't done, the YG bird trap.
Covered in
You've seen that one sat there? We haven't done this one yet. Right, so this one's a trap for catching birds. Now, birds are notoriously suspicious animals. They do not like landing on the floor. So Catch the Chicken does not like landing on the floor. Okay, he doesn't. So, when we have some bait, like a dead rabbit, like that, obviously that is now a bait for something to come down and look at. The bird comes down, because he's naturally suspicious and he sees a nice perch, he lands on the perch. I've got to hold this up here because otherwise it doesn't catch his legs at the moment because I haven't bent them properly, but I will. So when he lands on the perch, he pushes the perch down and it catches his feet or it catches his body.
I need that for the back up.
He is now stuck up there because the weight has dropped down here and the snare has been activated. It goes round his feet generally quite well because obviously when the bird lands, they land with their legs or their claws open to land on the perch. He's a bit more awkward, he hasn't got a back claw and his feet don't actually bend the way I want them to, but we'll go from there. But he does land on the perch and he gets caught like this, so he is now stuck up there. Another one that I will be doing shortly is another version of this, which is where you have the post upright like this with obviously the bar sticking out, and instead of a weight going down the side, I am actually going to be attaching a spring down the side. This will then get pulled out to the side with the wire or the string attached to the snare at this end. So it's now under pressure when it goes through here, the same as that one with the weight. The difference is that because this one then drops down, this piece here will then fly back into itself, activating the snare and pulling it around the bird. So obviously this one then is fixed, but you've got a securely strapped young sapling to the side of it. I just haven't had time to carve it yet today. By the end of the Bushcraft show it will be done. But that's most of the basic trapping. Trapping is such a vast, exhausting knowledge in so many different ways, shapes, forms. There's snares, there's deadfalls, there's traps, there's all sorts of different ones. I mean, if we go down the fishing, there's funnel traps, there's weir traps, there's nets, there's all sorts. So, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the ones in Alaska, they just have a big scoop on the side that runs by the river. And it's just literally a scoop, and all it does is scoop up underneath and puts everything in there into a box on the side. So, and that's again a fish trap. But as I said, there is that many different varieties and everything else. Please stop, say hello, speak to me, ask me any questions, and we go from there. But thank you very much.
Thank you.